So this episode was supposed to come out on Christmas.
Yeah.
And we're recording it after Christmas.
Works for me. I still just sent some Christmas cards. It's going to be awesome.
Sure, yeah. We're playing fast and loose, but that's exactly what someone did in A Christmas Prince, the Royal Baby.
More like a pain in my ass.
You were supposed to say a royal pain in my ass.
Sorry. The fact that you wanted me to say that hurt my soul so much. I don't know if, dear listeners, you couldn't see my grimace, but my face screwed up into pain there.
I don't know what's the point of us doing notes if you're not going to even look at them.
We didn't write that down.
That's true. That was
off the dome, sort of not, but
sure. Well. Christmas Prince, the Royal Baby, or as we will now call it, CPTRB.
Nope. Superverb.
It stars a New Zealand actress whose name I have already forgotten, but if you've seen the show iZombie, which I have not, I think it's on Hulu?
I believe so.
Like exclusively. It might be a Hulu.
I've seen it pushed, and I've always said, no thanks, bro.
She is the star of iZombie. And I mean this in a nice way. She immediately struck me as a discount Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah, no, it's who my mind. It's who it's called to mind.
Now, Melissa Joan Hart, it should be clear, she has sort of had a career renaissance in Lifetime movies to such an extent that they no longer put her in the Lifetime movies. They have her host. Like in quotations, their Christmas movie marathons.
Wait,
where
why
like
are we watching her?
Before and after the ad breaks, she'll show up. I don't know, with one of the dudes from Queer Eye for the Five Guys. No, there's five of them. That's another show.
The Five Guys. That's a restaurant.
That's another show I have never seen. Clearly, but so she does that mostly now, and so she's busy. But they had this ringer step in.
Mm-hmm. For 3 movies.
Yeah, no, Andy makes a valid point. This is the third in a series of what I can only hope is a never-ending series.
This is not a series. This is a saga, okay? This is
We're going 9 films, baby. Forget the Skywalker saga.
Mm-hmm.
It's all
I mean, what else could you want? This movie has curses. It's got babies. It's got comedic relief who are just sort of awkwardly there. It's got ghosts. Mm-hmm. It's got treasure that's missing. It's a mystery. It's a whodunit.
And it has a really backwards nation state that has yet to discover the polio vaccine or combustion engines. Or
they're only tangentially familiar with the combustion engine.
Yeah.
Their state has 3 cars.
But so let's briefly recap the first 2 movies. In the first movie,
but they actually did that in the movie too.
Yeah, there was a lovely little recap.
Last time.
Yeah.
And then also last time.
So they've been cranking these out on a yearly basis for the previous 3 years, which is a little absurd to be frank. But in the first movie, our heroine, what's her name? God,
Lady Bird. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a very good movie. That's a Goodwatch Jr. She's the blonde woman, is an investigative journalist.
Yes,
I think for a tabloid.
Yes,
She's
there to do a hit piece or something.
Yeah, she goes undercover in the kingdom of Andovia.
Sure, it doesn't matter.
And she goes undercover to expose something.
The
Playboy Prince, but then falls in love with the Playboy Prince.
I mean, he's just so darn cute. How could you resist?
He is not ugly, I'll give him that, but he is maybe less interesting than a pile of bricks.
Mm-hmm. His super gay enemy friend.
Is it? And so this was frustrating. So that was okay. We're getting off track. We are going to talk about the gay friend. So things are going
just fine then.
Yes. So in this, they fall in love in the first movie, and in the second movie, Christmas Prince: A Royal Wedding, They tie the knot, and she is now preggers. I shouldn't say preggers. A female friend of mine told me I shouldn't call people preggers. She's pregnant.
It's okay. All right, no, she's pregante.
What is it in Spanish? Embarazada?
I have
embarazada.
no idea.
I think.
I'm
probably
thinking of the YouTube
mispronouncing
video of all the mispronunciations of pregnante.
it. It was a pregnant pause. Insert here. They're having a baby. The journalism sphere is rife with speculation, not only on the sex of the forthcoming child, but also the name
Yeah, and they're not
of the
telling
forthcoming
anyone
child.
anything.
And the husband and wife have not told anyone whether it's a boy or a girl, nor have they told anyone what names they are considering. It's a secret. Just they only share in their marriage bed during pillow talk, probably.
That's just they yell words, names out to each other during lovemaking. How would I think that would be?
Okay.
Everyone can agree on this name in bed. That's how you know you like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrifying.
So, Andovia, I think it's a really dumb name for a fake kingdom. Because it just makes me think of Andover, which I think is a place in Massachusetts. This is a fake small British kingdom.
Sure, yes.
And they have a queen who's from New York, and her father owns a diner, and he's maybe the greatest character in the whole
ridiculous.
Film because he is only until the very end. He has 2 scenes where he chats with his daughter via Skype or FaceTime,
and it's very awkward.
And he's like, "Hey, I'm a New Yorker. I got a diner. What's up, Joey? Oh,
so bad."
It's like
the director's like stereotypical New Yorker. No, more stereotypical. No, could you throw a little more Jewish in there? No, more stereotypes.
It's hysterical, and of course, the queen's mother is deceased because they're going for a Disney Channel vibe. Yeah. I think. And the movie opens. She's writing a blog entry about how her first year as queen is almost done, and she is due to have a baby, like January 4th or something is the due date.
And they're doing like some flashbacks, and they show like the honeymoon, and it was like just a green screen honeymoon.
It's the most wasted green screen ever because
you could have just said we went on a honeymoon. You don't need show a terrible image of them on the beach. But
they're very clearly not even standing on sand.
It's so bad.
It's really dumb and poor looking. She has a book labeled, or maybe it's a journal, but she's reading a book called My Perfect Birth Plan. So it's one of those pregnancies, ladies and gentlemen. The kind where the woman is like, I'm pregnant, so I'm disabled. You know what? I would be astonished if Andovia has an Andovians with Disabilities Act.
Yeah, well,
considering their attitudes toward polio and modern transportation.
Only the rich people can be disabled in Andovia.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Have you seen those posts where the parents in Brooklyn are like, babies are basically disabled. Don't ask me to move my child's stroller on the bus.
What?
It's a real thing. It's kind of hysterical and amazing and sad.
Don't do that.
I know.
Don't be those people.
I know. I know.
I'm sad for humans.
My toddler, all toddlers are basically disabled. I'm not going to move his stroller on the bus. It's the most white people thing ever.
I am white and I do not understand.
And it sort of ignores the fact that there are children with disabilities in the world. And it's completely bonkers, but that's insane. Brooklyn. Anyway, she's writing a blog entry. Should we talk about Simon now?
Yeah, let's go into Simon.
So was he the prince's...
They mentioned him right off the bat in the Skype call, I think.
Well, okay, so one of the things that's very frustrating is even though there's a recap for the previous 2 films, none of the characters in the 3rd film are ever introduced.
Well, I mean, if you're watching this, you're supposed to be up on it, right? If you're watching...
Let's assume we last watched the previous film a year ago.
Oh, that shit's seared in your mind if you saw it. You know it.
I have already forgotten so much of this film. We watched it days ago.
It's been a very active couple days. Christmas happened. We got swag.
Swag, baby. Yeah, but yeah, there are these. I think they're a gay couple and they're designers and
That's
they're
the comedic
coming.
relief, and they're really annoying.
They're coming to plan a baby shower.
and also,
I was very confused why they were there. Like, don't they have families to spend the
are
holidays with?
multi-millionaire CEOs, co-CEOs or something, and they're like, no, we're gonna hang out in this crappy little country where they don't have cars. Everyone rides bikes, and this is what we're doing for Christmas. It's really weird.
It's very strange. And then there's Simon, the one character whose name I did remember, because he is he the cousin or the brother to the king?
I have no.
I felt like he was more
tree?
than just like a casual bro.
The family,
because he seems to be in the family.
I don't.
He seems to be in the family.
Puts up with his shenanigans.
And he's sort of like the black sheep because everyone knows that he's a rascal and he's always off doing shenanigans and no one should take him seriously. And he's very clearly gay. And it's strange because like I don't want to make judgments about that actor's sexuality, but I feel like the script is like, no, he's gay.
Amp it up, but then also try and get married to Melissa. But amp it up. It's very strange.
It's very, very bizarre.
He's got all these, like,
especially since he has such very effeminate mannerisms and he has a significant other who is spending the holidays with him in this Andovia palace. And there's a visiting dignitary family from the neighboring Pagnalia.
Is that it?
Yes, because I kept wanting to say Pygmalion.
Yeah, right.
That's a different thing. Pagnalia.
Or something like that.
And they are, stereotypical Asian nation.
Which is sort of
unfortunately.
like, it's sort of strange because it's like this, like these nations are not huge and they are separated by not, but they are, one is European white and the other is Asian, like the Mongols. Like it's like, it's like, okay.
It's a very clear dividing line. And one of the staff for the visiting dignitaries went to school with Simon.
Yes.
And she's a very attractive woman. And they did go on, I think, a date, he says later.
Yeah.
But then they realized, I said she realized he's gay. But he says to his current significant other, Melissa, the one black character in the film, Melissa, who somehow knows the queen from her New York diner days.
Well, I think that's obviously we're missing massive backstory from the first
They're besties.
We've got this depth that we're missing, which feels, you know what? It feels right that we're watching just the third, having not seen one.
I feel like if you try to, it's like when in those hotel pools, like no diving because it's that shallow.
So I guess we should let's recap with the plot. The arc of the story is,
yes. Let's briefly go through the plot because it's so silly and will take a very short amount of time, then we can crack all sorts of jokes.
Yeah, because we keep meandering, and I feel like anyone listening is just going, I still have no idea what's happening in the story.
I'll try and be brief. The visiting Pagnalians are coming in because every 100 years. The two nations of Andovia and Pagnalia come together on Christmas Eve to re-sign their peace treaty to continue it for the next 100 years. And I think this first started in something like 1419.
So it's been like 600 years.
It's been around for ages and ages. Yeah. And it's more of a formality than anything at this point. They have not fought.
It sounds like there is apparently real things at stake. I was like, you guys could just, because the big mystery.
Couldn't you revise the treaty so it doesn't expire in 100 years?
Like they were like, if it's not signed, and like people are like looking very nervous. I'm like, guys, you could just like write like on a piece of paper, like, hey, I agree let's agree to be friends still. And they're like there's they try to inject this tension. It's just like, I mean, it's a piece of paper.
There's an arbitrary deadline written on an ancient scroll that apparently is binding.
And they have to use the old one, like, because since it got stolen, everything that happened before doesn't matter anymore. Like, it's very weird.
Yep.
So that's the crux of it is she's pregnant, she's having a kiddo. And
they are they have the visiting Pagnalian family to sign the treaty. They open the ceremonial box where they store the treaty for its 100-year-long rest, and they open it, and it's missing. The treaty has been stolen. And then they spend, the next frantic 24 hours trying to find the treaty so they can sign it by midnight on December 24th.
Also doing the baby shower on emergency.
They also have the baby shower during this time.
Yeah, the only reason they have time to look for the treaty is because the Pygmalions are snowed in, and no one has plows in this country or cars, so they can't leave.
There's literally one car in the nation of Andovia, and it belongs to the doctor.
There were 3. There were 2 police cars and the doctor's car.
That is fair. That is fair.
The Pygmalions
now,
in.
it should be clear that all of those were imports.
Yeah.
Ba-boom.
There's no native car production system.
And so they, of course, eventually find the treaty. It is signed with moments to spare, and then the queen has her child.
Well, she also they stand up for women, and the women sign this time.
Yes, because for the first time ever.
And we hear the Pygmalion queen. She's very upset because the people don't love her, and so this is her. They're trying, right? They're trying to have these characters all expand. It was sort of interesting because all these characters did get some space to grow and do stuff. I was sort of intrigued by that, but it was just none of it was good. None of it was good.
And then, so what I found so baffling about this is they introduced this whole treaty, and if it is not signed by midnight on December 24th, sorcerous magics will occur, and the firstborn child in either nation will be forever cursed. And so, of course, that is the Andovia as yet unnamed baby.
Yeah. And so pregnancy hormones is she's just totally panicking. And it's just really also, it's so strange that's like a pressure point, a point of contention, the added tension.
It's really, really bizarre. But my whole thing, and I remember thinking this when I watched the trailer, I was like, they don't need to have any of this nonsense with the treaty and a curse, because you already have a fish out of water situation where the New York journalist is all of a sudden a member of a royalty in a foreign nation and is trying to adjust to that, and is also adjusting to the fact that they're soon going to be a parent. And that's perfect fodder for all sorts of much better films.
You could have even they had Simon doing some possibly sneaky underhanded things.
Yeah.
They could have been focused on her I can't stand corruption, he could have turned out to be a villain, but I guess it's it's a holiday thing, so he didn't want him to be a villain, but it was just
also it's wrong to typecast the gay characters as villains.
He turned out not to be the villain, but it was still just
they ignore all of the meaningful narrative stakes, or I guess what could have been meaningful narrative stakes, in favor of this treaty must be signed or our baby will have horns or something.
Yeah, and it's and we think it might be in the dungeon, and there's pretty sure there's a ghost, and then suddenly a very heavy iron door gets swung shut by a gust of wind.
Now
that was insane.
I was watching this, and the king has a younger sister who's maybe 14, 15.
Oh, we're getting to the cousin love?
I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the younger sister.
Sweet, creepy cousin love.
She has some disability that is not ever named. Sometimes she's in a wheelchair. Other times she's walking around and she has those arm poles. Things. Yeah, they're not quite crutches, but they're similar. Yeah. And it's never made clear what happened to her.
Probably the first 2 movies they explored at some point.
But she has this condition, and I made the joke that I was like, well, they haven't figured out polio, which in hindsight is in poor taste. But in my defense, it totally seems like the only reason for this character to have a disability is so that she can try to reach a key hanging on the wall outside of a cell that she is locked inside of by a gust of wind.
Yeah, it's
really bad. It's really bad.
Disabled people can help too.
Disabled people have feelings too.
They're useful when you're trapped and you need a stick.
It's gross. It's really gross. And there's a scene where everyone, like Andy, Allison, and myself, we were watching this together, and we all thought that she was talking with someone she was related to, perhaps a cousin.
Yes.
And it's one of
They had, like, the same hair, basically.
gatherings leading up to the Christmas holidays. And he says something like, "You guys really go all out with the decorations." And she looks at him and says, "We also have lots of mistletoe." And it's very... And we all were gasped because I was like, why is she going so hard on her cousin? So they also haven't figured out incest in Andovia. It's the moral of that story.
I mean, it's a group of people that believe in sorcery, so I get it.
Yeah, and much of the fault lies with this younger sister character because she uncovers this ancient tome of Andovian lore that lists all of the numerous consequences if the treaty is not re-signed by midnight on December 24th every 100 years.
And she goes and reads to the pregnant queen and is like, check out the terrible stuff that happened to your baby.
And the mother of the king's mother is like, oh, don't share this with anyone. People used to believe in sorcery, but we know better now.
And she's like, but what if it's real?
Have you heard about cars? I hear they're great. But then the little girl's like, but what if it's real? And then she goes, of course, and sounds the pregnant woman's alarm bells. And there was a moment that felt very real to me where the queen is talking to the king, and king is like, can you not be ridiculous? Our baby is not going to be cursed, regardless of whether or not the treaty is signed. She goes, I know you don't think the curse is real, but I need you to support me. And I was like, ooh, assertive communication. Oh my goodness. Do they have couples therapy in Andovia? I don't know. It seems like they have.
I don't know how they get there.
Yeah, seriously, there is a scene where she's eating donuts from a box, and I was like, who brought those donuts to the castle?
Right? I
was like, because she didn't leave to go get them.
And wasn't there
and if they were from the kitchen, why did they put them in a box? I was like, does Dunkin' Donuts have a Dunkin' delivery service? Like, it's, yeah. Anyway, so there's... So
there's like a couple of sort of like they're attempting at endearing scenes with pregnant queen in pajamas, and king's there comforting her, and then you look and you realize that she's wearing pantyhose underneath her pajamas, which is just a weird thing all around.
Like, she's wearing a nightgown and pantyhose and slippers, and then she has what we all decided to call a preggasm because
that was so strange. Yes.
It doesn't make any sense.
I didn't write down preggasm, but it was there.
She's sitting in a chair, and her husband is giving her a back rub, or they're talking,
there's some
and
stuff
he
happening.
stands up, and she like stretches out one leg. She goes,
Yeah, I think that I don't know if she's never had a Charlie horse before. I think she's
it really seems like she has an awful cramp.
Someone described it to her, and she's like, "No, I can make that." And they're like, "No, stop making porn sounds."
Yeah,
no, whatever. We'll just roll it.
So then her slipper slides off her foot. Her husband's giving her a back rub, and rather than use words and say, "Could you please put my slipper back on my foot?" He
the
has to
an inch away, and her foot is right there, and she's like her foot's just limping.
He has to guess from the sexual moanings coming from his wife, like, "Oh yes, I see your slipper has fallen off. Let me help you with that." And he puts it onto her foot that is covered in pantyhose. It's very bizarre. Yeah. And I was like, is this how they do it in Andovia?
This is...
What?
Next she's going to slide up and show some ankle off.
No, she was sitting in what looked like a very royal chair. I was like, what's going on in that chair? Maybe it's like a vibrator situation. It's very bizarre.
So the CEO dudes are like present the entire time. The
CEO dudes?
Yeah, the comedic relief team.
Oh, the designers for the baby shower.
Yeah.
They're
invited to everything
for the holidays and to have the baby shower.
Yes.
But then as soon as people realize the treaty is missing, they're thinking maybe we shouldn't have the baby shower. But then she Skypes with her New York deli owner father. And he says, I think the people of Andovia could use a little joy. You should have the shower.
There's like 7 people invited. So it was it's so strange.
Every character who's been on screen so far in the movie, except for New York deli owner father, shows up to the wildly over-decorated baby shower, where I said... I think their decorating aesthetic was, I want a Christmas fairy to throw up in here. it's
not wrong.
It's so gross and overdone.
It is a lot.
The Pagnalian couple, the woman looks much older than the husband.
That was interesting, yeah.
I for sure thought she was the matriarch of the family, and the man she was with was her oldest son.
Oh, okay.
But they are a couple.
They are. And they have like some interesting dynamics.
It is interesting, but
he like doesn't actually care about leadership, and like she does.
No,
like,
he wants to have a fun time and play piano.
That was sort of weird.
Yeah.
Like apparently he's been doing this for years. He has a family, and he's like, no, I want to throw it all away and play piano. Like it was.
Yeah.
That was sort of a weird.
You guys heard about Billy Joel? I love that man. There's a weird moment, too, where his gift to the queen for the baby shower is a song that he sings and plays on the piano. And he goes over, and it's just a standard Christmas carol. And I was like, he didn't write that.
Yeah, it was.
This is hardly a gift.
This is just a regular song that you could hear it, like, your iPod. You should take that.
He didn't do a special arrangement honoring Andovian culture.
Yeah, it was,
no, it's just a random Christmas carol. I don't even remember which one. But, yes. Now, of course, our investigative journalist Queen recognizes that because of the blizzard, the thief who took the treaty is still within the castle walls.
And here's the whodunit part.
And it's a classic. So then my brain immediately went to what would happen if Hercule Poirot were visiting Andovia during this trying time.
Way too much.
So what would happen? Let's sidebar. What would Hercule Poirot do? I'll have to work on.
Not a podcast within a podcast. It's not happening. You're not doing that.
This could be our first and only episode, but I'm going to do it anyway. So if Hercule Poirot were present, the treaty would have been stolen in order to delay I don't know what the acronym would be. But the treaty would have been stolen to delay the signing not only of the treaty but also of a new will that had been discussed amongst the family, although the exact terms were not disclosed. But then, of course, in order for the will to have stakes in a classic Agatha Christie Hercule Poirot story, there would have to be a murder. And now, who do you think should die of all our choices?
Can I do more than one?
In CPTRB.
No. Oh, you did it. Oh, you remembered it.
Well, no. In true Hercule Poirot fashion, you can have more than one murder.
Oh, okay.
But you have to justify the second.
Damn it.
But see, now I think in classical Agatha Christie fashion, it would have to be the Andovian matriarch, because she's the oldest and therefore most likely to die of natural causes. But was it natural causes? Hercule Poirot does not think so. Jacques. So it would have to be her.
Okay.
And my money is on the youngest of her children with the sticks.
Yeah.
She's not disabled.
Oh, you think I was going to say she should also die?
Well, she's not disabled, and she is either the killer
this is the long con. She's been since a baby. I've been faking the cerebral palsies from day one.
She's like, since I don't get to have my scene where I'm pretend locked in a dungeon, this will have to do. So
I beat Mama to death with my sticks, like 14-year-old girl.
This has been the Hercule Poirot podcast within a podcast. Now,
oh god,
there's a moment where
full Game of Thrones on this.
The queen has her husband lure one of the gay baby shower designer decorators out of their suite.
Yeah, this is
and
such a weird
then
thing.
She sneaks in to search their suite for the treaty because one of the designers was quite vocal in saying how the treaty that they've been using for hundreds and hundreds of years is quite ugly,
aesthetically
and
displeasing, and should be gotten rid of.
And he very loudly whispers when people recognize that the treaty is stolen. He's like, well, maybe now they can replace it with something better.
It was so,
and honestly, he's the only voice of reason, because they could do exactly that, and this movie would be over so much faster.
Oh my god. So they're searching. So the pregnant lady is lunging around his room, and it's really ridiculous.
And then his partner, I think they're partners in life and in business, right?
I think
they never kiss or anything because it's Netflix, but my understanding was they were in a relationship
it seemed like
as well as in business together. He walks in on the queen, and he's like, oh no, he didn't take it, but I can see why you think he might have.
He is not mad at all. It was very weird.
Yeah, he's like, I'm so happy you stopped by to invade our personal space. It's really great to see you. You are glowing with your first pregnancy, honey. Oh my god.
Such a strange moment. I was like, he's just like, oh no, it's fine. Yeah, no, this is cool.
Yes.
I'm not mad at you at all. My person I called friend who I thought we trusted. Yeah, no. Mm-hmm. It's very weird.
And then I have something. Oh, no one likes Simon except Melissa. Mm-hmm. And Melissa tells the queen that she is in love with Simon, and the queen is like, that's a mistake. But they play it off as like it's a mistake because Simon is unreliable and completely irresponsible and also homosexual.
And they drop like passive aggressive jabs at him throughout
the entire time. They're very homophobic in Andovia. It's really uncomfortable.
He's not actually gay. He's just crazy.
But there had to be maybe he was not written that way. Okay, maybe he was not written as a closeted homosexual in a country that does not recognize homosexuality in any way, shape, or form. However, I think this actor and the director had a conversation. Be like, the only way that it makes sense for all of these other characters to dislike you so much and throughout the movie for very little reason, I think you're a closeted homosexual. And the actor's like, yes, that's my motivation. It's very strange.
So now you've got me wanting to see if he carries this behavior through the other episodes of this saga. I really want to know now.
Episode 4. A Nude Hope.
Oh my god! Oh no!
I think that's actually a name of a burlesque show already.
Or probably a Skywalker porno.
Yeah, probably the burlesque show took it from the porno. Yeah. Okay. Well, by the way, the butler did it.
Yes.
In true whodunit fashion.
And he explains everything.
The castle butler was the one who stole the treaty and hid it in the dungeon where the matriarch and the child with the disability go down to search for it because they somehow get a lead that that's where the treaty has been stashed.
I don't really remember why, but they were like, let's check out the ghost dungeon.
It didn't make any sense, but they do decide to go check out the ghost dungeon. They walk into a cell and
it was very
a gust of wind
as soon as I
closes, and it's the kind of thing where they are immediately locked inside, of course, but as I pointed out, there's no padlock. There's no way that gate locks on its own by magic. It's so stupid. And then, of course, the child with a disability has their moment where they use their sticks. Right? Well, yes, she falls and cracks open an enormous stone that has been used to hide the treaty in this cell.
Yes.
And then somehow they break out of the cell
using her sticks.
Either with or without using her
sticks. The keys are 5 feet away.
Yes.
And you need the sticks to reach them. That's
how she reaches out of the cell with her sticks that she uses.
So bad.
And it's really gross.
And then
it's really gross,
guys.
Then
his butler did it, and he explains his motive. He's mad about this 600-year-old treaty because his family was name was besmirched 600 years ago. It's insane.
I don't think it was 600. I think it was 100 or 200.
Oh,
but someone named King Claude was poisoned, and this butler is a descendant of King Claude.
Something like that.
And he took a blood oath to avenge this dishonor. And I was like, wait a second, you're part of the royal line and you're working as a butler?
They didn't quite.
And they never clarified, was he there undercover?
Like, so the long con was him. Like,
if anyone was doing a long con, it was him.
Like, he's like, I've been working for 40 years to mess up this treaty, which is just a piece of paper, and you could just rewrite it.
He is very much treated like as a member of the family, although he is on the serving staff at the Andovian Royals Castle. And so I think he's like in The Americans. He's been in deep cover his entire life.
For not even like, he wants to just mess up a treaty signing, which is just, you just sign it again. None of this makes any sense.
And they had a perfect opportunity for him to say, and I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for this damned blizzard. Because that's the only reason that this crime is solved. He could have stolen the treaty.
I don't know why he didn't just burn it. Like, what's the point?
When he realized that he couldn't physically remove the treaty from the premises, he could have stolen it. It is on very old parchment.
Oh, you know what? I remember now. They had the dogs search all the grounds except the dungeon.
Yeah.
That was why.
It's Chekhov's dungeon.
They had dogs come in and search everything except the dungeon. And they're like, all right, guess we don't know where the tree is.
Yeah. So
then, like, during this, as all this emergency stuff is happening and they're figuring out who done it, the pregnancy kicks off. And the OB is coming, and something hit her car? Like, she was driving on very clear roads.
The OBGYN is trying, even though, like, she checked on the Queen a day or two before, she somehow ended up across the country of Andovia and is driving.
Well, it's only 6 miles across.
And somehow there's like 12 journalists embedded there who are very invested in the name of this child. But she's trying to make it back to the castle to treat the Queen during her pregnancy. Yep. But of course, she has to sign the treaty first. And they have her sign the treaty on the bed where she soon gives birth. And I was like, aren't they worried about like her getting sweat and blood everywhere? Like, or poop?
No, that makes it a really authentic treaty then. This is a human treaty.
Well, you can tell the women were involved because they got pregnancy stuff all over it.
So she signed, and the OB's coming, and then, like, I don't know, like a bat hit her car window or something?
A bat flew out of the trees, and she drives into a snowbank.
And then you hear howling wolves, and, like, she's in trouble.
And the king goes out on horseback to save her.
They had a carriage on sleds earlier, but they're not going to use that because that would make it less dashing, I guess. But I mean, he still has to carry her, and we don't know how many miles away. So he just heads off, and there's a bunch of wolves howling, and he just goes, what does he say? He just goes, not today. Like, he
stares off into the darkness and says, not today.
Like, you obey your king. Tomorrow you can eat me, though. Like, it's so strange.
Meanwhile, the Pagnalian people are at the castle helping the Queen, and I was like, it's going to totally be like a midwife situation.
And that's, because...
But then the doctor does arrive.
The Pagnalian Queen was a midwife for years, and so she knows.
Yeah, she's volunteered at a clinic or something. She's, of course, had her own children.
Yeah.
So
they both just signed at the same time.
The stakes are so low throughout this entire thing.
There's zero risk or like they try to inject it, and like I just felt nothing. I was like, you could just sign any piece of paper. Like, did you guys forget what was on the previous?
Yeah, now I'm making fun of Agatha Christie for her reliance on wills as a plot device, but at least she was always clear that a will is valid if the person signs it and has it with their lawyer. Like, it doesn't have to be a fancy piece of parchment that you've been keeping for 600 years. Yeah. And, let's talk more about Agatha Christie, because I really think...
We're going into our Goodreads section.
Well, I think part of the reason so many of her Hercule Poirot plots involve wills and issues of inheritance is she was using the murder mystery as a way to confront her own fear of death.
Okay.
Think about it. There's something there.
I haven't read any of her stuff.
God damn it. Well, if anyone wants to have a Hercule Poirot podcast.
We're looking for new co-hosting options are available.
Yeah, we'll just have it in this feed. I'll tell Andy to buzz off. It'll be great. Good watch.
You want to do yours?
Sure.
Okay.
I went to go see Knives Out, starring Daniel Craig, Ana de Armas, Freaky Friday mom.
Yeah.
Why can't I remember her name?
Her face, I love her, and she's so good.
She's the Scream Queen from the OG Halloween.
Yeah.
She's great.
It's an ensemble cast.
It's it's a really an amazing cast. Christopher Plummer is the patriarch of the family involved, and it's a really amazing whodunit, unlike the Christmas Prince, a royal baby
Who
nonsense.
tried to hit every single trope you could.
It's really well done, and it has a lot to say about the current political state of the United States, because it is set in the United States, and there's an immigrant who is a nurse for the family, and they make a point to say, like, oh, we've embraced her as one of our own. And then when they suspect her in the death of their Christopher Plummer's character, they're like, well, we know your mother's undocumented, so you better fess up. And she's like, what the fuck? Rightfully so. But anyway, it's really good. It's directed and written by Rian Johnson of Brick, Looper, The Last Jedi fame. It's amazing. I love Daniel Craig, and he gets to do an amazing Southern accent in this film. He plays a man named Benoit Blanc. And one of the local cops that he's working with insists on calling him Benny, and it's amazing. And it's very sort of meta in that Christopher Plummer's character is the author of 50-something best-selling murder mysteries, and it's great. Of course, there is discussion of a will, because if you're gonna ape Agatha Christie, you gotta do your shit. But
the beats.
Yeah, Knives Out. I doubt by the time I get this up, it's still in theaters, but
It'll be available online.
check it out soon, somewhere on the interwebs.
Okay. My good watch this week is The Witcher on Netflix. It's got Henry Cavill as the lead. He's playing Geralt of Rivia, the Witcher. And this is a series that I really like for a couple of reasons. I like fantasy and world building, and this has this stuff in
He also likes Henry Cavill's big, sexy muscles.
Yeah, he's got a great butt. Got him, folks. Evan's down for the count. He was not ready for that. There's a lot of male nudity in here. There's a lot of nudity in general, but that is sort of a mainstay of the Witcher universe. There's a bunch. It's based on a series of books, which then had a very famous series of games made, and so I've played the games, and so I'm familiar with the world. So I have a lot of investment in the world already coming to it, and it does the games justice. I really enjoyed the series. There's dragons and creatures of the night, and the Witcher kills them, and it's a lot of fun. The fight scenes are great. Yeah, they do a lot of good stuff. There's like low level magic stuff. It's a cool show. I enjoy it. Check it out.
I haven't seen it, but yeah, it sounds cool.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah. So please give us a review and subscribe to our show on iTunes or the podcatcher of your choice. You can support the show at patreon.com/badwatch. You can also find us online, badwatchpod.wordpress.com. We have all of the Good Watch recommendations up there, as well as a list of all of the bad watches we have covered on our podcast. And also for the boomers listening who have asked Andy or myself about where is there a list of those things you recommend? Well, for each episode, we include them in the episode description.
Yep.
And you can find them on our website, like I just said. So, yeah. He's Andy.
That guy's Evan.
And this is Bad Watch, the Baywatch of podcasts.
I'm not finishing it.
I think that's fair.
Though I did have a lot of food. Now I really jiggle.